Hello, and welcome to Arts and Entertainment.
With Chris and Randall.
In a world where every artist who is not wealthy must put out a podcast, two men, Chris Corbell and Randall Mills, are going to do a podcast on coming attractions. Hey, everybody. So that was my attempt at doing a trailer for this week's episode, which is going to be on movie trailers. Randall, you're a big fan of movie trailers?
I don't know. Why did you ask me that question? You know I am not a big fan of movie trailers.
This is why it's going to be an amazing episode. Because
I gave up watching movie trailers like 10 years ago because I feel like it ruins the movie-going experience. Yeah, I try to avoid
Were you a big fan of movie trailers when you were a kid?
Yeah, when I was a kid, I liked watching them. But, like I said, you eventually get to the point where it's like, the trailers ruin a lot of parts of the movie for you, so you start to realize that. I mean, well,
then if this was a Christmas episode, Randall, it would be my job to give you the spirit of Christmas, or in this case, the spirit of trailers, and convince you. So at the end of the episode, I'm going to ask you again if we've been able to change your mind. But before we dive in,
I will watch a trailer after I watch the movie sometimes. Yeah, that's fun sometimes.
Actually, it's funny you should say that. I'll get to that in a sec. So beforehand, again, folks, please like, share, subscribe, comment. We always love hearing what you guys have to say. Thanks for the compliments. We've been getting quite a few of those recently. Randall, what's a good way to reach us?
Well, check our website out, chrisandrandall.com. Facebook page is pretty good, Arts and Entertainment with Chris and Randall. So there's all sorts of different ways.
Excellent. Okay, so today is going to be a bit of a nice, strange, simple, and weird episode. We have Bill Gucwa on, a maker of movie trailers for the studios. He's going to talk about his time making trailers, and we're going to learn about the art and the business of movie trailer making. We are going to discuss several trailers. Now, if you're listening to us at any point, you can always put us on pause. You can go to YouTube. I've looked for all of these videos. They are on YouTube. Or if you are watching us on YouTube or Facebook, you will find the links at the bottom on the page. I'm going to tell you guys which trailers we're going to discuss now, so that if you want to watch the trailers first, that's cool too, and then come back. It's not a lot of trailers. We're going to discuss the trailer for the movie Frequency that came out a while ago that starred Dennis Quaid. I think it came out in the 90s. We'll find out in a moment, but it's called Frequency. We're going to discuss, and that's just the general trailer. There's a short trailer, about 15 seconds, for the original Aliens from 1979. There is a trailer for the movie Where the Wild Things Are, which came out in 2009. There's two trailers. Either one is fine. The trailer for the movie House of Gucci, there's only one trailer for that. That's House of Gucci. Then there is the James Bond trailer. I don't know which version it is, except to say that this is the Bond trailer that starts out with clips from previous Daniel Craig Bond films. Then we're going to look at the trailer for Monty Python and the Holy Grail. And we're going to look at the trailer for the 1984 Dune, the current trailer for the 2021 Dune, plus the Chinese edition of the trailer for the 2021 Dune. All right, so those are, did Randall, I forget any trailers? Is that it?
Yeah, I think you got it.
Okay, and I do apologize, folks, if you're finding any audio issues with my voice. My usual microphone is not working today, but I will try to be loud and proud and enunciate clearly. Okay, let's bring on our special guest, Bill Gucwa. Hey, Bill.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Hi, Bill.
Great to see you again. Bill, we had you on our Academy Awards show, and that was a lot of fun. But today we're going to talk to you about your hat as a maker of studio movie trailers. So I guess our first question is, how'd you get started?
Well, I kind of lucked out. I kind of fell into it. I started off my career as a tour guide at Universal Studios. And after I left, a lot of the tour guides went on to do bigger and better things. And one of my close friends there actually worked at a trailer house, and I got a job working at a trailer house, and sort of worked my way into.
What is a trailer house?
A trailer house. A trailer house is, there's many of them. They're kind of like little trailer houses that cut specific trailers. They're little tiny ad agencies that the studios will hire to do trailers. The studios don't do their own trailers anymore. They'll hire outside, sort of like freelance companies, to come in and present an ad campaign, and they'll pick the trailer house with the best ad campaign.
So do you have to make the trailer for the movie and submit it? Like, so there's a bunch of different trailer companies. They'll all make a trailer for a movie, and then they'll submit it to the studio.
Well,
and then the studio goes, I like your trailer more, so I'm hiring you.
Well, it's just like anything. You're pitching an idea, and they're going to go with the best pitch. And so there's a lot of trailer companies out there. There's the Ant Farm, Aspect Ratio, Big Science Film, Acme Trailer Company. There's a lot of them out there, and the competition is fierce. And so everybody wants the big market
So
film.
you're telling me for each movie there will be trailer pitches that they'll take from trailer companies?
There's a lot of studios that will do business with certain trailer houses specifically because they have relationships. But sometimes they'll want to go and find a trailer house that's maybe has a different idea or a different perspective.
Why?
Like I said, go ahead.
Why don't they just do the trailers in-house?
Because the studios, it's easier for them to farm it out than to do it inside. Nowadays, the studios don't have the room. They've kind of diversified. It's easier and cheaper for them to freelance, to send it out. And then you've got all these companies that have the facilities to do it. And it's just cheaper. It's just cheaper for the studios to do it. Just like in the 40s and 50s, the studios did everything themselves. Nowadays, it's all freelance. Okay,
so the studio has a movie, and they call up a bunch of trailer houses to call for pitches. And what do the trailer houses receive? Do they get a description of the movie? Do they get footage? What do they? They'll get.
Yes, they'll get. Most of the time they'll get the actual film. Sometimes maybe the movie isn't complete, and they'll get a synopsis or they'll get the script, and they go off of that. And it's just like anything. It's just like an advertising company that Coca-Cola goes to 3 or 4 advertising companies and decides, which pitch is the best. So it's sort of like Mad Men. It's kind of like the show. It really hasn't changed. So they'll do the key art. They'll do the poster art. They'll have ideas of what they think they're going for.
So did you ever get from one of these studios just like a script and no footage at all? Or what's the roughest form they would ever give you something?
Sometimes they really want to get the movie promoted as quick as possible. And so they'll send dailies. They'll send actual shots of the movie that they have done maybe in a week's worth of filming, and you'll just look at dailies. But most of the time you'll get a rough cut. You'll either get a director's cut or you'll get a long editor's cut, and you try to do the best from that.
Okay, and so what is a trailer pitch like? I mean, what do you go into a meeting room and you say what? I mean, do you make visual aids? I mean, do you make a rough cut of the trailer already, or?
No, not necessarily. You don't want to give away everything, just like, pitching everything out front. You want to keep some things close to the vest, but you'll give ideas on what the poster art's going to be, what your taglines are going to be, what it's basically. The funny thing is that when they're pitching, when these little companies are pitching, all the studios want something that's different, but basically it all winds up being the same.
So, Bill, I know that we're going to make this more specific because there's a movie I saw that you did the trailer for, and I really admit I don't think I was friends with you No, I was friends with you at the time. This was back in the 90s. Am I right?
Yeah, I think
So
so.
I was friends with you, but I didn't know you had made the trailer. So I did see the trailer, and then the trailer made me see the movie. And the name of the film was called Frequency. We do actually, you can Google the trailer Bill made. It's the only trailer there is for Frequency. What year was that, like 1990 something around?
Yeah, 95, 96.
Yeah, so it was about
Something like that.
then. It starred
Jim
uh,
Caviezel,
and Dennis Quaid,
Dennis
right?
Quaid. Yes,
Father and
Frequency came
son.
out 2000.
2000.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
And separated by 30 years. And it was like a science fiction slash murder mystery. Would that be the best way of describing it?
yeah, it was
Genre-wise?
almost like a Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah. And it was kind of upbeat and interesting and fun. And it had a really cool opening, with planets and radio waves. And it gives you it starts out very science fictional, and then it has elements of a good crime mystery. And it does feel a little bit upbeat. So you're a screenwriter, and therefore I guess you kind of understand film and film structure. And I'm sure people who do trailer making, there's a 3-act structure. So can you just take us through how that experience, can you maybe teach us like how one goes about putting together a trailer based on that particular experience so we have a reference point?
Sure. When a writer, usually they're called in the trailer business, they're called copywriters, just like in advertising. And so mostly trailers are cut actually by editors. But what writers basically do is they'll watch the movie, and what they'll try to do is they'll pull out bits of dialogue and bits of scenes that they think can represent the 3-act structure. And that's basically what you want to do. Every trailer has a beginning, middle, and end, just like a script. So you have a first act of a trailer, you have a second act of a trailer, and you have a third act of a trailer. So what a writer does is they'll look at the movie, they'll give you the movie will have time code. And what you do is you find the dialogue that you think could represent the plot points of the first act, and then find dialogue that represents plot points of the second act and plot points of the third act. And what you'll do is you'll find the dialogue and you'll put down the time code so the editor knows exactly where to find that specific line. And what you do is you piece together a very condensed version of the film. You're trying to get across what the film is about in a very short period of time. Trailers can only be 2 minutes and 30 seconds long. That's like sort of an unwritten rule.
No, that's actually a written rule. I looked it up.
Oh, is it? Okay.
It's a written rule. The suggested rule is 2 minutes. The written rule is 2 minutes, 30 seconds.
Rule from whom, Chris?
What?
Whose rule is it?
It's one of the many film society people that rule films in the U.S. I
think it's the producer. I think the Producers Guild. They came to an agreement. Yeah, they came to an agreement on that for a long time ago. But it's funny because the trailers, the reason why they're called trailers is because they used to be shown at the end of a movie in the movie houses. They used to show them at the end of the film. That's why they were trailers. They trailed the actual movie. But nobody stuck around to watch the trailers. They left after the movie was over. But for whatever reason, trailers, they moved it to the beginnings of the movie, but they're still called trailers. But that's how they got their name. They should
be called the beginner, the appetizer.
Yeah, the prequels, yes.
So when you were making the trailer for Frequency, had you seen the whole movie yet?
I saw the whole movie, yes.
So
that was a fun part of the job. You got to see the movie before.
So that's
else.
A toughie because there's a lot of mystery going on. There's a lot of cross genre work going on. That opening, I want to point out, does not appear in the film.
No. Sometimes with trailers, they'll use footage or B-roll from other movies. Again, depending on.
Was that your decision?
It was not my decision. They wanted to show the universe and kind of like have a Twilight Zone opening. And they thought maybe cutting together those images would sort of conjure up that idea. And I think it kind of works, actually.
That's pretty cool. I wasn't upset that I didn't see every planet. Randall, did you ever see the movie Frequency?
I don't know if I've seen it. I don't think I have, actually.
It's a good film. The trailer is pretty much like the trailer does not oversell the film. Do you feel like the trailer doesn't oversell the film, Bill?
I think that it covers the entire movie. I have to agree with Randall that trailers, they hit it on the nose a little bit too much because they are under the impression that nobody knows anything about the movie. So they are going to over explain it. They want to make sure the audience knows exactly what they're in for, and they don't want to leave anybody out. So they'll do their best to explain the entire film so people understand its premise. And in doing so, they give away too much of the movie.
Well, generally, audiences don't like surprises. I mean, that's like a lot of people in the arts understand that. I mean, I like surprises. I like the novelty aspect of it, so I don't like to watch trailers. I wanted to ask you though, Bill, is there any like, have you ever encountered any like A/B testing? Where they test out a trailer that reveals a lot, and then a trailer doesn't reveal that much, and see what kind of responses they get? Have you ever encountered anything like that?
Most of the time that I've dealt with is you write the trailer, you cut the trailer, and then the studio goes in and they'll have notes. It's just like writing a mini script. You send in your script and everybody has notes on what the changes want to represent. But the interesting part sometimes is sometimes they'll promote or they'll cut a trailer. Let's say a big name actor only has a cameo part in a film. They'll cut a trailer to make it seem as though that particular actor, who has a very small part and is a big name, is prevalent through the entire film.
Like Drew Barrymore in the first Scream movie?
That could be. They've done it with Bill Murray movies. They've done it with Bill Murray cameos. They want to make sure that everyone understands that this big name actor is in the movie, and people will be under the impression that this specific actor is in the whole film, and actually they're not. So they cut trailers that way. Sometimes there'll be a movie where a named actor, let's say Jim Carrey, had made a couple of dramatic films. They'll cut a trailer to make it look like the movie's a comedy. They did that with, I think we talked about it, Chris, the movie with it's the Majestic, and it was more of a drama than it was a comedy. But one of the trailers that they had released made it look as though it was a Jim Carrey comedy, and it's sort of a bait and switch sometimes that trailers do.
Well, so Bill,
sometimes are you told? Oh, sorry, Randall, you first.
Well, I just wanted to ask. So I'm just confirming that in your experience, there's not much audience testing of these trailers. Like, it sounds like the executives are just flying by the seat of their pants, putting these trailers together.
There is a technique to it, and like I said, if it follows the 3-act structure, people can say, well, we want more shots of explosions, we want more shots of the big name actor. There's definitely a formula that goes into trailers, and that's why most trailers have the same feel. You're talking about James Bond trailer. Some of these trailers all have the same 3-act structure. So it's a question of whether people are interested in the premise or not. It's really not the trailer so much.
You're doing a 2.5 minute or 2 minute trailer. I get it, but like I also know that trailers can be like 60 seconds, 30 seconds, even shorter, 15 seconds. So what's the process when you have to do those shorter trailers?
Well, they'll cut radio spots, which you'll just have a lot of narration and explaining the movie from the makers of, it'll explain the movie, and then they'll have bits of dialogue that are thrown in. But they'll have 15-second spots for television. They'll have 30-second spots. They have foreign spots. They'll have different trailers that are cut to emphasize the main actor or actress in the film.
Is there a particular challenge of doing, because film is visual, so I can see an explosion, but like how do you go about selling a visual medium on like radio, which is oral?
Well, what you'll basically do, you'll promote the star power of the film. If it's a Tom Cruise film, the name Tom Cruise is mentioned in the 30-second spot at least 3 times. So they'll explain who's in it and basically in 2 sentences what the movie's about. And that's how radio spots are done. And then they'll have basic, bits of dialogue. It's basically different for radio spots. But television spots, are still visual. But
I know you're one of your favorite ones, and we're going to talk about it right now, is the 15-second spot for the first Alien movie.
Right. Well, there's a difference between a regular trailer and what they call a teaser trailer. And teaser trailers usually are very mysterious. It's usually movies that have big expectations. They don't know basically what the movie's about. But when Alien came out, they had a teaser trailer. And basically it was a shot of the alien egg, and the egg cracked open and a beam of light shot out. And then the narrator said, "In space, no one can hear you scream." And that was it. That was it. And people did not know what that was, because in big letters it said alien. So there was an egg in space, no one can hear you scream. And people really were very much interested in that movie. Then they've done teasers for the Star Wars movies where you'll have just sounds of the lightsaber. Usually the teaser trailers are maybe 30 seconds long, and they're very, very mysterious. I find those to be better than the actual 2-minute and 30-second trailer, which shows everything.
I agree. I think very memorable is the Independence Day teaser, I think it was, where they just show a flying saucer blowing up the White House, and that was it.
Right.
We're going to fight
those
back
are
Independence
great.
Day.
But again, they're cutting trailers not just for domestic audiences, they're cutting trailers for international audiences. And so you have to really make sure that everybody in the world knows what this movie has to offer. So they'll throw in the kitchen sink.
Hey, Bill, can I ask you, specifically, do you remember pitching Frequency and getting that job? Do you remember how you pitched that trailer?
Yeah, I mean, I just pitched what I was pitching as a writer. I was pitching just taglines, and like I mentioned before, I always thought of Frequency as an elongated Twilight Zone episode. So I pitched the idea of what if you could talk to your father from the past? What if it changed everything? What if? And that was the pitch that I gave them, like Twilight Zone. And that was kind of like what they glommed onto. They liked that.
Is that why it says "what if" at the end of the trailer?
I can say that I was instrumental of putting in "what if."
It's just so interesting. I think that's the URL. I actually think it's like whatifsomething.com. It's like one of the earliest URLs I've seen. Now, what's really cool about that trailer, and you don't see it anymore, is it begins with a voiceover narrator.
Right. Which they don't use as much anymore. It's very rare that you'll hear a voiceover, a narrator on a trailer. It's usually the narration usually comes from dialogue from the film. Usually what they'll do is they'll find an exposition monologue from one of the actors in the film, and they'll cut it and use it as narration in the film. But it was the famous narrator that passed away,
Don
LaFontaine. Yeah, when he passed away, that's when narration in trailers started to diminish. Was after he passed away.
Yeah. So, Bill, why do you think it was all just Don Fontaine's talent? I mean, why do you think people liked narration in trailers for so long and then they stopped?
Well, I think in a lot of ways, it's very old-fashioned. It's the same with documentaries. Very rarely now do you see documentaries being made with narration. Usually documentaries are talking heads of interviews and cut together with clips and visuals. Very rarely do you see narration. And it's the same thing, I think, with LaFontaine and trailers. I think he was such he did so many trailers. His voice was so recognizable that they didn't want to use an imitation voice. I think his was, again, it's that comfortability that people like. The studios would always say, we want a trailer that's outside the box. And then you'd give them something completely different and they'd say, oh, they would change it to make it fit back inside the box. Everybody wanted something different, but they'd always get the same, and that's what they were comfortable with.
Do you remember a crazy trailer idea you tried that didn't fly with the studio?
Most of mine were, I wouldn't say anything crazy. I always stayed within the confines of what they wanted. What I tried to do was I tried to find pieces of the film that I found amusing or interesting. And that's what I tried to do. Not show the typical, like if it was a comedy, show the typical pratfall, or, I would always try to find a scene or a piece of dialogue that was completely different. But it's also, it's all timing. I never pitched anything too crazy. I always stayed within the confines of what they wanted, because that's what everyone's comfortable with.
So it seems like with the trailers is what, like 5 to 7 key scenes?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, yeah, I would say, especially with action films, you need about 5 to 7 explosions in a trailer to make sure everyone understands that it's an action film.
Maybe you can explain a little bit. In many ways, Randall, I almost feel like what's replaced almost the narrator, or when you use key dialogue, is the role of music in the trailer. So I didn't know this, but we talked about this before, that the score music for a movie is like one of the last things they do. So I assume most of the trailers that we see for movies were made before the score was composed. So how does music work? What's the role of music in a trailer?
Well, music for a trailer, usually you're right. The last thing that a movie is, one of the few last things they do in a film is the music. So what they'll do is they'll sometimes compose an original score for the trailer. And it's easier for them and cheaper for the studios to hire a composer to write a synthesized score for the trailer, because it's an original score and they don't have to pay royalties on something. So they like to do that. Or they'll use classical music. A lot of times you'll hear classical music in a trailer because, again, it's cheaper for the studios to use classical music. You don't have to pay as many royalties for that. But I think the best trailers sometimes are cut to popular music, or music from the 60s or 70s or 80s, especially if it's a period film. If a movie takes place in the 1970s, you'll have a trailer with 1970s music, and that'll pump up the film. And it becomes.
I know you, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Just finish what you were saying. I was going to say, I know you're a big fan of the way music is used in the 2009 film Where the Wild Things Are, for that trailer.
Right. I think that's a great trailer. They used the Arcade Fire song in that trailer, and the trailer is cut to the particular song of Arcade Fires, and it looks like a music video. There's no beginning, middle, and end. There's no 3-act structure in the trailer. It's just bits and pieces that evoke emotion, rather than getting hit over the head with.
So do you think that the music video craze of the 80s and 90s, which in a way technically are just trailers for albums and songs, do you feel like that's kind of influenced the way some contemporary trailers are cut?
I think that's influenced the way movies are made. You look at all the Marvel films. I think there was a rule that I read that they don't like shots longer than 3 or 4 seconds. And if you watch those movies, you don't see long close-ups that last longer than 4 or 5 seconds. You just don't. And I think that is, music videos, which again started in the 80s, I think they've changed. They changed film as we know it, and I think trailers as well.
Well, this is something, Randall, you have a background in too, with the structure of the music video and how it tells a story. Can you maybe add a little bit into that for us?
Well, What do you want?
Well, like you've been in music videos, you have a background in filmmaking, so like it seems to me that in music video, the image and the beat kind of line up.
Well, this is something I've paid attention to over the years, and yeah, I've edited some music videos, sequences of music, of course. I think most of the time, most projects, they just like slap the music on later as an afterthought. Everything's already done and edited. I mean, I don't know what it's like for a lot of trailers, but they don't feel so cohesive in that respect. But yeah, the Where the Wild Things trailer, yeah, obviously the editor is cutting it to the music. But cutting to the music, I don't think is very common. And I actually don't understand why, because especially in the age of digital editing, it's become much more easy to do. But yeah, I mean, even music videos, like, aren't cut to music. Like, I'll tell you a good example of a music video that is cut to the music, which is, what is it, Tonight, the Smashing Pumpkins? Is that the right one?
Yeah.
So that one's cut, like, totally to the music. And when you watch it, you see what I'm talking about. It's like... things happen in the video along with the music, and you usually don't even see that in a music video. So I don't know why most things aren't cut to the music. I really don't understand it.
Well, it's interesting.
Maybe
because
Bill knows why. Maybe that's something to do with the bureaucracy of the film industry.
Well, the funny thing, the Where the Wild Things Are trailer is I think a spectacular trailer.
Right.
The movie is a beautiful looking film, but it wasn't a very good film. I thought it was a very mediocre film. The trailer was better than the movie because the trailer evoked emotion and the movie not so much. And that's where sometimes a trailer can be better than the film. And that happens sometimes because you'll have a movie with incredible visuals and you'll go see the movie and yeah, it has great visuals, but the narrative is very weak.
The irony of that is it was directed by Spike Jonze, who has done some amazing music videos.
Right.
Now, I don't know, and this is the problem. I try to do research. I don't know if Spike Jonze directed his own trailer. I guess it's hypothetically possible, Bill, that he could have directed his own trailer.
Well, it's funny because the music in the movie, the Arcade Fire song, is not in the movie. So it's just, yeah, I don't know. Sometimes pending in the director's contract, whether they have, input on the trailer, usually it is the studio that is in charge of the marketing and the director's not so much. The studio's job is to sell that movie. They want that movie sold. It is a product that has to be sold. And it's not really much of a creative process for a director. And to be honest, a director has a lot to do and a lot to finish for that movie to be released on time than to worry about a trailer. Now, of course, yeah, a director will get a cut of the trailer and he'll say he likes it or not, or she likes it or not. I'm sure that happens, but it really is the studio being happy with the ad campaign and making sure that all the bases are hit.
I was going to say, in one sense, the thing about that movie to me is when I saw the Arcade Fire, I'm like, well, this is a hipster movie for hipster people who like hipster music like Arcade Fire. But I will say that if you're a fan of Arcade Fire, and I know you are, I think you can just watch it as an Arcade Fire video, right?
And they should release it as release it as an arcade. Yeah, they should, because it would be great.
A lot has changed in 12 years. And one of my girlfriend's favorite trailer, get very excited whenever I see it now, is the new Ridley Scott trailer for House of Gucci. And Randall, I think you watched the video, right? It's interesting because so I don't want to give too much away, but House of Gucci is based on a true story about a woman who married into the Gucci family. Crime and murder and betrayal would be committed. It stars Lady Gaga as the villain who marries into the Gucci family. I really want to try to opaque it, but it's set to Heart of Glass by Blondie. But what's interesting about this version of Heart of Glass, which is clearly Deborah Harry, it's clearly the vocal track is clearly the original vocal track, but there's a lot of manipulation, like a remix on it. And I feel like, Randall, unlike where they cut to the song, I feel like the song in this video, and guys, correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like it's remixed to serve the trailer.
I have seen that on other projects where yeah, they that's common in other projects. They'll take a song and they'll just like, they'll cut out sections of the song to make it match the video. I mean, that's more common in the industry.
Yeah, but they're
I'm not
even
sure
like
why, but
playing with the instrumentation and arrangements to give it more of a haunt. Like they put a filter on her voice as well
sure,
to make it
sure.
slightly more haunting.
Sure, that I think that's pretty common in the industry. I mean, you're trying to conform the music to the video rather than the other way around. I mean, especially with a trailer, you have a limited amount of time, so you're gonna squeeze a lot of stuff in there.
What do you think about that trailer, Randall and Bill, and the way it uses that song?
Well, I think the song obviously evokes the 1980s, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, totally, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
right.
I mean, right, like I said, like, with trailers, that's the first thing they do with period pieces. They're going to find a song that most people remember, or it's going to evoke some kind of an emotion. And that way it'll represent the time period right away. You're in the 80s. You're going to see the costumes. You're going to hear the music. You're in the 80s. So right now, watching the trailer, this is a period piece that takes place in the 80s. The thing that threw me off was the Italian accents.
Right, but like like Heart of Glass, it's the singer is kind of cold, and clearly the Lady Gaga character is kind of all cold. It's almost like, to me, the video is almost like singing her subconscious thought.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's weird that Lady Gaga isn't singing Heart of Glass, but it feels like her character is basically an illustration of what they're trying to get away with in the song. I will say it's a good example, though, of using dialogue from the movie in place of narration.
Yes, that's what they do. Yeah, absolutely. They can find pieces of exposition from a character that is explaining a plot point, they will throw that in the trailer and use it as a VO. Yeah, right, exactly.
and they use these little place cards with the Gucci logo, the Gucci colors, and they'll put like the names of the actors there, where a narrator would say, featuring Academy Award winner Adam Driver.
Right,
Academy Award.
Yeah, that's usually in the third act of the trailer is the cast list.
Right. This time it comes at the beginning, but then they use at the third act of the trailer like just words for themes like intense, heat,
right,
betrayal.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly. Like these are the themes that are going to be in the movie. So if you don't understand, we're going to tell you what themes are going to be taking place in this film.
And then she just says some kind of really kind of like almost Bond villain thing while she's drinking a demi-tasse glass.
Right. It's usually a tag. It's like the tags in the Marvel movies. There's tags in trailers where it's a character saying an ironic line of the movie, or a funny line, something that people can remember. Hopefully, Randall, being a piece of dialogue.
Do you think this is a good trailer?
I don't know. I'd have to see the movie first, but
does it make you want to see the movie?
Honestly, it didn't. I mean, it seems like there's too much going on for me. I mean, I don't know. I didn't really understand like everything was going. I don't know. It seemed like a mess to me, the whole movie.
Okay. And I got me excited, but I could see what you're saying, Bill, because this story is certainly more imagistic than anything else. Do you think it was a good trailer, or do you think, because like Randall got a little lost? What do you think as a trailer maker? What do you think of this? Is just technical?
Again, trailers, it's an art form for editors, and that trailer works, I think, because of the music, and it's very slick, and it encompasses all the elements of a good trailer. I mean, it is a very good trailer. It's very, very tight. It's a question of whether or not that subject matter appeals to you, or are you a Lady Gaga fan? It depends, what your tastes are watching the movie. But for me, it's the music that makes that trailer. And I think most trailers, it is about the visual. I think the best trailers are the trailers that have a music video quality to them. But
cool. Well, then let's talk about one of the most iconic trailers that we get every couple of years when we're very good little boys and girls. We've been getting trailers for this for some 50 years or more. So let's talk about the new Bond trailer. Because, I mean, Bond trailer, even the teaser, we know just from the sound of the music, right? It's just that do-do-do-do. And then their little, 5 seconds of just him appearing through an eye with his gun. And now the new Bond trailer, the full-length Bond trailer I wanted to talk about, in some senses, I feel like it's very modern, and in some senses, it's just like one of the most iconic trailers. We all kind of know what a Bond trailer looks like, don't we?
I guess, yeah. Once you hear the music, you know what you're in for.
Right. So even before you open up, so the music almost acts as a cue.
It's to get the audience excited, right? When you hear that music cue, you know exactly what it is.
It's almost Pavlovian. And, what's interesting about this particular, it's called No Time to Die, is it does something you see in Star Wars movies recently and in Marvel superhero movies, which is, we have a lot of sequels and coming out now in trilogies, as I like to say, trilogies, quadrilogies. So what they do is something I haven't seen in a Bond trailer before, which is they use clips from previous Daniel Craig Bond films, bits of dialogue with Judi Dench, who's no longer playing M, to make you feel like you're watching what will be the last episode in the trilogy.
Well, it says that in the end of in the trailer somewhere, right? This is the final, or this is the end, or something like that in the trailer. I mean, they're trying to set it up that this is the end of something. I mean, what? I don't know. It is Daniel Craig's last Bond movie.
Yeah, and I just wonder if they're gonna, for the next Bond, they're gonna have to reboot everything and have another origin story with Bond.
Hey,
is that what they're gonna do?
Could I pitch you guys my Bond idea? I was just thinking about it.
Absolutely.
All right, so every single Bond movie that comes out from now on, you have a different Bond, different actor playing Bond, and you just say James Bond. You set it up so that you just say James Bond is his code name, and 007 is his number, and it's just like a different person every time. What do you guys think?
I don't know.
I think that's brilliant.
A different Bond every time.
Every single Bond movie, yes. You can even have women Bond, you can have female Bond, you could have all sorts of Bonds.
Yeah, why not? Or just make them double O's.
They're all double O's. Yeah, exactly.
They're all double O's.
Going back to the trailer for a second, it's like there's certain things you have to have in a Bond trailer, right? You always have to open up the Bond trailer with the Bond music, with the Bond image, with what is normally literally often the opening scene of a real Bond film. You always have to introduce a couple of key action sequences, at least 2 beautiful women, at least 1 amazing car, and some very strange villain saying some very crazy man dialogue. And I mean, I feel like this one really kind of does, like, it's almost like, Bill, if you had no choice, if I put a gun to your head and said you have to make a Bond trailer or your whole family will die, wouldn't these be the things that you'd have to absolutely include?
I think you would be, if you didn't have all those elements in the trailer, yes, you would be put to death by the studio.
I mean, the weirdest thing is when you watch the trailer, you don't actually know what the internal stakes are. Like, Bond's been, finally going to get whatever he needs with his romantic life, but you don't actually know the situational stakes for the world, do you? In this one?
There's something. I mean,
well, usually
they do make it more mysterious than usual.
Well, usually the stakes in Bond movies are really dumb almost all the time. I mean, the villain's plot is usually like really stupid. I mean, nobody ever cares about it. Nobody ever remembers it. So, I mean, people remember the villains, but what they're trying to do, it's always something ridiculous.
Well, I just don't understand why all the villains want to destroy the world. I mean, that's usually. I mean, that's why I think Goldfinger is probably one of the best Bonds, because he wasn't trying to destroy the world. He just wanted to ruin the world's gold supply and increase its value.
Do you think that's why?
That to me makes more sense. That's more villainous.
All right. Okay.
Do you think that's why in the trailer we don't even know what the global threat is? Because
no, they have it in the trailer. There's a shot of people wearing red jumpsuits. Giant cavernous water. They're in a pool of water, and Bond says something about using people as weaponizing people. So I'm getting the impression that people are being weaponized, sort of maybe made into Manchurian candidates all around the world or something. I don't know. But
But
again,
I feel like
is that
it's
for
less
world
selling.
control or something?
It's less selling the premise, which is normally what we used to get with Bond films, and more selling the character journey.
Yeah, but I think that's, yeah, I mean, that's why people like the Daniel Craig Bonds, is because, he had a dark past, and, they try to give Bond more dimension, whereas the other Bonds, especially the Roger Moore Bonds, were just, sort of tongue-in-cheek
So
fun.
What was your
following
favorite
that
Bond?
whole, oh, go ahead.
Everybody, what's everybody's favorite Bond? I'll say mine is
Spy Who
Roger
Loved
Moore.
Me.
What?
Spy Who Loved Me.
Which one was that? Which Bond was that? Which actor?
That was Roger Moore.
Oh, that was Roger Moore. Yeah, okay. Well, Bill, you have a favorite Bond actor?
My favorite, I don't think it's the best one, but my favorite is Connery in Diamonds Are Forever.
Wow.
Some people consider that one of the worst Bonds. But for me, I love that Bond. But I would say the quintessential Bond. If someone said, "Yeah, I've never seen a Bond film, which one should I see?" I would say Goldfinger. I would say that one kind of represents Bond and his womanizing and the gadgets and all that stuff is
I gotta
that.
say, I love Moonraker, but all right.
Nay, that's a fun movie too. So, what I want to talk about, because I feel like there has been a change in trailers, even in action films, where Moonraker really is the perfect example of what I'm saying. Because Moonraker is all about, hey, what if Bond goes to space?
Exactly.
And it's very high
right.
concept. James
only,
Bond
only because
in
of Star
space.
Wars. Only because
Right,
of
but
Star
James
Wars.
Bond in space is high concept, and clearly, if you ever wanted to take over the world, then taking over the world from space seems to make the most sense. So I feel like trailers, even for action films, are becoming more character based in the U.S. market and less concept based. So Randall, I'm going to try to keep this spoiler free. If you need to take your headphones off, please do.
All
We're
right.
going to talk about Dune. We're going to talk about the trailer for the David Lynch 1984 Dune, which Randall, I know you're a big fan of, right?
Yeah, the 1984 Dune is like one of my favorite movies.
And then I can't pronounce his name. What's his name? Denis, the new guy.
Villeneuve or something?
Yeah.
Villeneuve. So he has Dune. It's coming out very soon. So I wanted to look at, just discuss how very similar and different not the films are, but the trailers are. So without giving any plot details away.
Well, look, I'll just sit this one out because I don't want to hear.
Okay,
what
I'll just do this, Randall. I'll raise my hand and you'll know that
You what?
when I do this, it means we're done talking about Dune.
Wait, Randall, you've never read the Dune books?
I've read the novels, but I haven't seen the trailer.
Well, then, yeah, but the trailer, what you would be not wanting to see are the visuals.
Oh, okay.
The narrative is the same. They're not changed. The spice melange is in the trailer. But go ahead.
The 1984 David Lynch trailer, to me, it opens up with a character literally talking to the audience almost like a narrator. I don't even think it's dialogue from the
Princess
film.
Irulan.
Princess Irulan. Is that scene with Princess Irulan actually from the film, or is it just Princess Irulan talking to the audience?
In the book supposedly became a historian and wrote a bunch of histories of Dune, and so yeah, by Lynch.
Oh, it is from the
I'll
film.
tell you something about Lynch's Dune. Lynch's Dune is very faithful to the book. That's my opinion. I mean, but the funny thing is like there are certain things that Lynch put into his Dune movie that only come from like one sentence in the book. Okay, I'll give you for instance. In the very end of Lynch's Dune, it rains. Okay, and a lot of people say, "Oh, that's not in the book," but actually, it is in the book. But it's in the appendix. In the appendix of Dune, which the appendix is like another 100 pages. It does mention that there's a myth. There's a legend that after Paul Muad'Dib took over the palace, it rained briefly.
Well, so since you've seen the first Dune movie and did you see the trailer for the Dune 84 movie?
Yeah, I've watched it, yeah.
Okay, so what do you think of that trailer as it relates to the movie?
I think it's great. I mean, it covers what's in the movie, and it's like it doesn't give away too much of the plot, which is what I like to see in a trailer. So yeah, I mean, it's great.
What do you think, Bill? Do you feel like it shows its era that it was cut in?
It seems a little dated. There is narration in the film or in the trailer, but yeah, it covers all the great David Lynch visuals. and that's why it's a
But don't
great
you feel
trailer,
like it's
because I think the
trying to
visuals in Dune are great.
It's trying to tell you a lot more of the story than everything, and it's trying to sell you. It even says in the year whatever. Like it almost feels like when we were kids, science fiction films always had to be sold to people who didn't like science fiction.
Yeah, I would say that's true with this. But if you look at the old trailer and you look at the new trailer, the narrative's kind of, I mean, obviously it's from the same source material, but it's kind of the same idea. I mean, in fact, there's a couple of visuals that I think the new director, I forget his name, I can't pronounce it. Villeneuve. There's that famous shot in the original Dune trailer and in the movie where it's Keith McCullum. He's the one with his character with all the sores on his face, and he's elevated. He's kind of
Baron Harkonnen.
There you go. The visuals are the same. They look exactly the same. But the interesting thing about the two different trailers, I watched the domestic trailer and then I saw the Chinese trailer, and they're two different trailers. One, the Chinese trailer, is about the narrative. It starts off explaining what Dune is and what spice is and why they're going to war. Whereas the domestic trailer, the spice is barely mentioned, and the worms are barely mentioned, and it's more about an emotional journey between the characters. So there's an inward trailer of emotion, and then the Chinese trailer is basically outward. It's all narrative. This is about a fight on a planet over this spice. And so it's just, but the visuals are the same, but completely different storytelling.
I found the Chinese trailer was almost a little bit more like the old 1984 trailer.
It's exactly like the 84 trailer. Yeah, pretty much. Because it's talking about the narrative. Like, what is Dune? What is it about? Whereas the domestic trailer is like very confusing. You can watch the domestic trailer and it's about a kid, a son, and he has problems, and the father, who's going to take over, it looks like more of like palace intrigue than about Dune itself. So it's kind of interesting how both.
I don't know if Dune needs everything explained. They did that famous cut for TV where they tried to set everything up. But if you read the books, Herbert doesn't explain everything in the books right away. He has this big ass appendix at the end where more stuff is explained. But it's like you don't even have to read that stuff. So I don't know. It's an open question to me. Like Star Wars, they don't. Lucas doesn't explain everything in Star Wars at the beginning of Star Wars.
I think the less that is explained, the better off you are. Because when Lucas did try to explain everything, it just all fell apart.
Yeah.
Of the three trailers, Bill, what's your favorite?
I am also a fan of the original Dune.
Oh, are you serious?
No, I love that film. It's one of my
you
favorites.
And me were the only ones.
When it first came out, my friends hated that movie, and I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was fantastic. Completely, I think it's kind of underrated in the canon of David Lynch films, but he's disowned that film.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, he's completely disowned it. But I think the original trailer is very good. Listen, the visuals in the new film, I would say could equal or maybe surpass the original. But David Lynch's vision is so unique, whereas this new one, like I said, there's definitely shots and scenes that are very reminiscent of the David Lynch film. And maybe it was done on purpose, maybe it wasn't, I don't know. But we'll see. I'm looking forward to seeing the new one.
Yeah, I will say what I like about the new American version of trailer is it has something that neither the Lynch version or the Chinese version have, which is it has a sense of humor.
The original? Or
no, the 2021.
Yeah,
there's some actual jokes in the trailer.
There's a couple of
it's not just all humor. Like serious. It's like, hey, you've gotten muscles. Really? No, or smile. Like, this is me smiling. Like, at least there is to me a bit more character variation in it.
There's not much comedy in the books.
No, I kind of got a Star Warsian feel from this new version. Like they kind of want to make it that, because I don't know. I just kind of got that tongue in cheek kind of feel from the trailer. Now maybe we'll see the movie, and the humor will be non-existent, and maybe they just wanted to put that in the trailer to give that tongue in cheek kind of feel. You just don't know, because bait and switch happens all the time in trailers.
As Randall said, there isn't a lot of comedy in Dune, and there hasn't been a lot of comedy at all in our discussion of trailers. So I want to talk about one of my favorite trailers, a trailer of a comedy. And I will bet you dollars to donuts, this one was made by the film's director. This was done by the film people. There is no way you could tell me otherwise, for a couple of reasons. And that is the trailer to Monty Python and the Holy Grail. It is, so in the trailer, it opens up with voiceover narration, and it says, once in a great time, a great film is made, and you're looking at a mountain, and you slowly pan through the mountains to nights. And then they talk about a couple of famous great films, and about 10 seconds in, they go cut, and they redo it again with a different voiceover narrator and a different voiceover narrator, until finally they have someone speaking in Japanese with subtitles. And they talk about all of the variations of great films. And they're like, yeah, but this film's not one of them. And then, it just keeps on running subtitles of how this is just an okay movie for intellectual midgets. It's a very, and then there are clips from the movie, but they talk about the movie The Seventh Seal, which does feature a knight playing chess with death. And they then show, with guys, Graham Chapman and I forgot who the other one is, but two members of Monty Python recreating the famous chess scene with death from The Seventh Seal in black and white. That is not in the movie.
Right.
And then after that, it ends with an ad for the Japanese restaurant nearby is where you should go after the film. I mean, it's just completely almost Dadaist in its approach. What do you guys think about that trailer, Bill?
It's great. I mean, well, it's a great movie, but yeah, it's definitely a unique trailer. We were talking about narration, how we don't hear narration often in films anymore for trailers, but with comedies, when you'll see a new trailer, usually with comedies, for whatever reason, they use narration for comedies. Maybe because the plot point has to be explained a little bit more. But in that particular trailer, in the Monty Python trailer, it is almost a Monty Python skit within a movie, within a skit. So it's kind of like a really unique piece of filmmaking. It's actually not even a trailer. It's a film short, is what it is, and that's what makes it so unique.
You learn almost nothing about Monty Python. I'm almost reminded of the Ryan Reynolds promos they had been running for Free Guy, where he just talks about Deadpool or doing the Green Lantern movie, but he doesn't actually talk about the movie itself. Randall, what do you think about do you feel like with comedy, if you're not really funny in the trailer, people are not going to, the stakes are even higher?
Yeah, I mean, for comedy, the problem is like you want to put some funny jokes in the trailer so people think it's funny, but then you don't want to give away all the jokes, and then they'll go to the movie and just see the same jokes. So the Monty Python trailer is great. I mean, yeah, it's beautiful.
It's a unique trailer. There was a trailer that Hitchcock did for Psycho, and that was a unique trailer because it was actually Hitchcock, and the camera's following Hitchcock, and Hitchcock is showing the Psycho house. He's talking about the Bates Motel. He's talking about something that happens at the Bates Motel. And it's kind of like a mini movie. But because at the time when that movie was made, the Alfred Hitchcock television show was on air, and he had become a personality himself. So he was sort of promoting this movie as a comedy, because the way he's talking through the trailer, you think, well, what is this? Because it's very dry and it had that Alfred Hitchcock kind of delivery. But it's a very unique trailer because they don't show any clips of the movie. It's just Alfred Hitchcock showing you where these heinous crimes are committed in the film, and it's very funny.
I've
So
always
it's a breath of fresh
yeah.
air seeing those unique trailers.
Yeah, that's a great trailer. You know what? I wonder why Quentin Tarantino never did a trailer like that for one of his movies.
That would
'Cause
actually be a good idea to
he
do a
seems like the
trailer like that.
obvious modern director to do something like that to me.
Absolutely, yeah.
I always love it when trailer makers make something different. But it's interesting. I know you're not in the trailer making business anymore, but it, trailers were originally made to debut in theaters, in films, before a movie, as you say, or after a movie. But now in the modern era, trailers really break on social media. They often break on YouTube, or people will share them on Facebook. What do you feel like is the state of the trailer today in the modern era?
Well, trailers now are being used as a device to sell scripts. People don't want to read scripts. Executives don't want to read scripts. So what people are doing now is they'll cut a trailer to promote their script. The movie's not made. They'll make a trailer for their script.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
that's what's going on now.
I know that that's how the Saw guys got started. They're from Australia, and they shot a little scene from the script of Saw, and they shopped that around with their script.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's an easier way to pitch an idea as you cut a little.
It's almost like the way that you would get work as a trailer maker, by making trailers to sell. So completely a different question, but the same idea is that now movie trailers don't always. Some movie trailers often debut in movie theaters, but now they also debut at midnight at California time on YouTube. So people will all of a sudden drop a trailer then. And I feel like if you're going to put it on YouTube, or if your friends are going to repost it on Facebook, it's more about, the buzz that it generates and the eyeballs. How do you feel about how trailers now have to not just debut on a big screen, but they have to debut on my little iPhone?
I think that's where they're debuting. I mean, I don't think movie-going audiences. I don't think the film industry's recovered yet from COVID. So I think now trailers are they're premiering on YouTube. That's where I see most of the trailers that I'm interested in seeing. They'll on my algorithm there'll be a new trailer for whatever. But still going to the movies and sitting in your seat and the lights go down and seeing 2 or 3 trailers before the main film, there's a sense of excitement about it. I think people get excited about movies that they want to see. And if it's a trailer that, usually for Marvel films or even the James Bond movie, people get very, very excited. And there is, I don't think anything can replace that than sitting at home and clicking on your computer and watching a YouTube video of a trailer. It's not as exciting. But again, the studios can look at the amount of hits that a certain trailer has gotten, and they could kind of find out whether or not people are interested in their product or not. So
I'll even watch on YouTube, certainly with the Marvel and the Star Wars stuff, I'll watch a 20-minute video dissecting a trailer.
I know that's like a cottage industry now. People dissect the trailer, and they try to talk about what we were going to see in the movie. I mean, obviously, I'm not watching shows like that, Chris. But yeah,
I am, and
I know what.
Even the way I saw the trailer for House of Gucci was my girlfriend just sent it to me as a text, going, "Hey, you got to see this." So I do feel like, in fairness, trailers today don't just have to hit you sitting in the movie theater, right? They have to kind of get people talking long before they go to the movie theater. And I'm just wondering if you feel like that changes the aesthetic or the creative demand on trailer making in the year 2021.
I don't think so. I think trailers are the same. Again, it's all an ad campaign. They are mini commercials for movies. It's selling a product, and that's what you have to do. You have to find the strengths of your product and promote it as best you can. And that's why most trailers kind of are the same. I saw a trailer today for a movie called Operation Mincemeat, and it was a period piece about a World War II undercover operation against Hitler and the Nazis that the British undertook. And it was a very good trailer, But again, are you interested in the subject matter? Are you going to see something like that? I don't know. I mean, but the trailer made it interesting. It's just a question. There's too many choices out there now. There's just too many choices.
So I guess the thing is, the trailer always has made for an intended audience. And as long as it hits its intended audience, whatever that audience may be, then it's done its job.
I think so.
Thank you so much, Bill. Randall, do you have any last questions for Bill?
No, I think well, Bill, do you remember the one of my favorite trailers was the Devil Wears Prada? Remember that one?
That's another one of my favorite movies. It's a guilty pleasure. I love that film.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
Well, that's because we're the target audience.
Yeah. But do you remember the beginning, the trailer? They just played one of the trailers. They just played like the first 5 minutes of the movie or something. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, that was unique.
That was a very unique trailer. Yeah.
Yeah, what's a great trailer that has narration is the original trailer for Jaws. And I think it was LaFontaine that did the voiceover on it.
Yeah.
And it's an underwater shot, POV going underwater through seaweed, and the narrator says, this animal has existed for millions of years. It's an eating machine. And it gives all these facts about what are they talking about. And then finally at the end he says, Jaws. And it's just like this fantastic trailer. One of my favorites.
Not even any footage from the movie, right? It was
not even any footage from the movie. And it was the real trailer. They need to do, I think, trailers have just become so cookie cutter now. I think audiences want to be surprised. They really, really do. And that's why, Randall, you don't like watching trailers. I completely respect that. Yeah. I get that. I'm the same way. I want to be surprised. But again, it's a marketing tool, and they want to make sure that everybody understands what their product is.
So I guess, Randall, we have not changed your mind, have we?
I'll watch a trailer after I see the movie.
All right. Well, to me, the trailers are still some of the best things about going to the movies, but maybe I'm just that way. So before I bury myself further, I'm Chris.
I'm Randall. And this is
Bill. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, guys. I had a lot of fun. Thanks.
All right. And we'll talk soon. Bye, everybody.